ago, Mayo Clinic opened a 228,000 square foot Dewan family building here, and that's where we're standing in Jacksonville, which is a major milestone for cancer care in Florida and across the country. And we are here today with the backdrop of all the heavy artillery you see for treating cancer to announce the next major step forward. Mayo Clinic is now launching the technology for the first carbon ion therapy program anywhere in the United States of America. And in fact, it'll be the only carbon ion therapy program in the entire Western Hemisphere. So this is newer technology. Japan has really embraced it. Mayo's the first one in the United States. You know, this requires capital investment. I mean, you see here, we were looking at some of the rooms where people can go, they get the proton or the carbon ion, and that's the vision. But it's like, you look at where the patient's going to be, then they take you behind the kind of the wall. Massive things. I mean, and they work with Hitachi to be able to get this done. So, you know, we have done with Mayo Clinic for all our cancer initiatives since I've been governor. It's been close to $100 million that Mayo has received in various programs, and towards this carbon ion therapy, about $30 million of our program funds contributed to where we are today. So there's a lot of excitement about what this could mean for the treatment of cancer. It's a very, I'll let Kent talk a little. He's a little bit more fluent in it than me, and I don't want to get any things wrong. Oh, you said this, you said that. The reality is this is probably would be considered the most advanced form of radiation treatment anywhere in the world. It has been used, I think, very effectively in Japan. The kind of the target is some of the most aggressive, hard to treat and treatment-resistant cancers, especially those that don't respond well to traditional radiation. And so this is the type of capability that is being unleashed here in Florida. Mayo Clinic is one of the NCI designated comprehensive cancer center campuses in Florida, of course. And you know, Mayo, and I asked the question, I was like, well, you know, Mayo Clinic originated in Rochester, Minnesota, right? And they've got an Arizona campus. You know, why didn't they just do it in Rochester? And basically it was like, you know, this is where the action is. This is their biggest growing footprint of any place that they have. You know, their Rochester grows, but they're growing way more in Florida. And I've just, in my travels over the years, when people find out that, you know, we lived in Ponte Vedra Beach before moving to Tallahassee for governor, the number of people, I mean, okay, they know golf and Ponte Vedra and TPC, but like the number of people that have said, oh yeah, we stayed there, you know, when my mother had to go to Mayo, or my husband, or this or that. People come from everywhere right here to be in Jacksonville because of Mayo Clinic, and it's very, very noticeable. And you know, it used to be that you go back 30, 40 years, be more likely people would leave from here to go other places. Now we have people coming here in really big numbers, and so I think it's a testament to the quality of care that's offered. So I think it really is, the fact that it's done here is really a positive sign for the upward trajectory of the medical community here in the state of Florida. Now, we've also been very good in terms of, you know, our regulatory apparatus that we have in Florida. Our folks are instructed, and they do. It's like, okay, the purpose of regulatory is to create a framework, which is fine, but ultimately the goal is for people to be able to accomplish things. So if people have innovative ideas, how do you get them to yes? Don't just say, oh, you can't, you can't, you can't. So we've tried to create an environment that is more, how do you get to yes, not just in medical, but in everything that we do. As part of the reason we lead the nation in new business formations every year, because people feel like they that the government here wants them to succeed. So this is going to be a unique facility. You're going to be able to do both proton and carbon ion therapy, and they actually can use for the same tumor. They can use, you know, both types potentially for dual capability. I was in both of the different types of rooms. I got to tour that earlier. So proton therapy will begin in 27, carbon ion in 28. Now they're having to work with the FDA on some of the stuff with the carbon ion therapy, but I think it's going really well. And I think the fact that you've seen it be used in other parts of the world is something good. But as you know, if you don't get it approved and all this, it's like you gotta, I mean, they have to make sure that they can sustain this. So there's things that have to be done still on that federal regulatory front. But man, what do you have here is pretty amazing. So, but the building's going to serve patients all the way through, and they'll use the therapies that are available. And when the carbon ion is green lit, they'll be able to do that appropriately. It's interesting. They were also telling me that if you treat like a tumor with the carbon ion, there's a school of thought that it basically helps with your natural immunity or some of the other medications for other parts of your body that would potentially be subjected. And so it's kind of a dual benefit there, which is really promising. So I'm excited to see this. I think, you know, when we did the cancer initiative in 2019, you know, it wasn't anything that we were doing at the time, like for our family. We just thought it was important. And then First Lady got diagnosed a couple years later. And so we went through that personally, but the amount of momentum that helped gain because of what she was doing to fight it has helped really take this to the next level. So I'm excited about this. I think this is going to make a big difference. And, you know, this is right here in our backyard. You know, no one else is doing this anywhere in the United States. No one else is doing this anywhere in the Western Hemisphere. And I think that this is going to end up doing an awful lot of good. So you want to come up and talk a little bit more about what this means?
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. On behalf of myself, our Chief Administrative Officer, AJ Dunn, and all of us here at Mayo Clinic in Florida, it's truly an honor to welcome you, Governor DeSantis and First Lady DeSantis, to the Dewan Family Building as we mark a transformative moment in the future of cancer care. This building, the Dewan Family Building, our new integrated oncology facility, which we opened just last summer, represents a truly extraordinary advance in the care of patients diagnosed with cancer. This facility brings together conventional X-ray therapy, often referred to as photon therapy, proton therapy, and the very first heavy particle carbon ion therapy facility in all of the Americas. In fact, it's the most technologically advanced particle therapy cancer treatment system that exists in the world. This combination with heavy particle carbon ion therapy is not incremental. It's a category of one transformational achievement for cancer care in the United States and reflects Mayo Clinic's bold forward commitment to redefining what's possible to bring more hope and healing to patients who are facing cancer. To understand why this matters, let's take a step back. The governor did a great job explaining the capabilities, but maybe I'll just mention a bit more. Today, more than half of all cancer patients receive radiation therapy as part of their treatment plans. Most commonly, that means X-ray or photon therapy, which are X-rays delivered by linear accelerators. This photon therapy is widely available and has saved countless lives. But because photons have no mass or charge, they can't be stopped precisely in the tumor. That means some of the surrounding healthy tissues are often exposed to radiation, which can be an especially serious concern for children or for patients whose tumors are located very close to vital organs. Many cancers are also resistant to photon therapy, and treatment often requires 30 or more separate visits, placing a really significant burden on patients and families to go in for all those treatments. Heavy particles change that equation. Protons and carbon ions have mass and charge, which allows them to be delivered with extraordinary precision, precisely targeting tumors while better sparing surrounding organs and tissue. And they offer the promise of fewer and more powerful treatments, reducing physical, emotional, and financial strain on our patients. Mayo Clinic's long been a leader in this space. We were among the first institutions in the nation to deliver proton therapy at our other locations, and today we actually operate the largest proton practice in the United States. But what truly sets this facility apart, again, is the carbon ion therapy. Carbon ions are 12 times heavier than protons. They're accelerated in the massive circular synchrotron accelerator that you see behind us, which is really an engineering feat larger than a football field that accelerates particles to near the speed of light with remarkable sub-millimeter accuracy. These carbon therapies are then precisely delivered to the targeted tumor to create powerful breaks in the cancer cell's DNA that are extremely difficult for tumors to repair, thus destroying the cancer cells. Even more promising is what happens next. Research, including work led by our team here at Mayo Clinic in Florida, that suggests, as the governor shared, that this DNA damage can generate what we call our neoantigens, triggering the body's own immune system to recognize the cancer and also potentiate capabilities with other immunotherapies. We're deeply grateful to Governor DeSantis for your tremendous support, and First Lady Casey DeSantis for your leadership, your advocacy, and your unwavering support for cancer treatment and treatment solutions. The Casey DeSantis Research Program has been instrumental in helping make this transformational facility a reality. For that, we are deeply grateful. Thank you. In addition, through your support, we've been able to plan for both adult and pediatric carbon therapies and consider how this access to treatments will likely benefit, as we learn more, tens of thousands of patients across the United States in future years. This achievement didn't come easily, despite global pandemics, supply chain disruptions, record inflation, international conflict, and even hurricanes. Our teams have remained steadfast since initiating this transformational investment back in 2019. Here at Mayo Clinic, we say our most distinctive asset, in spite of all this great technology, is our people. And they have delivered on the promise to open this building and have worked tirelessly to prepare for the launch of these advanced therapies in the coming year. It's particularly momentous to have the Governor and First Lady here with us to be celebrating the energizing of the particle therapy beamline today. This marks the beginning of the rigorous calibration process to ready the system for our future patient treatments. We anticipate treating first patients with proton therapy in early 2027, and as the Governor shared, carbon therapy in the months ensuing. Our team's dedication embodies Mayo Clinic's primary value: the needs of the patient come first. In 2019, Mayo Clinic set out on a bold path to transform healthcare. Our bold forward strategy to cure, connect, and transform healthcare. Here in Florida, that vision is coming to life through innovation, collaboration, and an unwavering commitment to our patients. Governor and First Lady DeSantis, thank you for your continued partnership and your support. Today is not just about a building or technology, it's about hope for patients, for families, and for the future of cancer care. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I would never say it was a good thing that I got sick, but I will say I am just so humbled to have had a very, very small part in seeing something so historic happen, not only here in the First Coast and this surrounding area. It's a huge deal, and it's a huge deal for the state of Florida. And as he just said and the governor articulated, this is a massive deal in all of North America and South America. This is the only unit like this in the Western Hemisphere where people are going to be able to get this kind of therapy. And as somebody who had radiation therapy, 6 weeks of it to be exact, and my left arm doesn't work as well as my right arm does, and sometimes you see me pushing a swing with just my right arm with my kids because the left one isn't working as well. Boy, it gives you a lot of hope that people who find themselves in a situation where they are going to have to seek therapy might not have the ramifications from the treatment. And that gives a lot of hope to a lot of people, not only to beat cancer, that's part of it, right? But to be able to have the quality of life afterwards and not to have the implications and ramifications of going through some of these really difficult treatments. And so this has been really very humbling for me. I've been honored to be a part of it, and it really fits with our overall mission of what we've tried to do in the state of Florida to help combat cancer. It started really with Cancer Connect that we started back in the day, and that really stemmed from when I was sick. I remember getting letters from people all over Florida, all over particularly the First Coast, because I have so many wonderful relationships here, but all over the United States of America. And I just remember how heartfelt that made me feel, that so many people were advocating for my health and giving me words of encouragement. And I remember meeting with people particularly who had stage 3, stage 4 cancer, and they had battled that 20 years ago. And they would come up and they would tell me their stories. And that gave me hope. I'm thinking, man, if you beat stage 4 cancer 20 years ago, man, then if I just stay strong, I can do it. And that's one of the messages from the very beginning that I wanted to help deliver to folks, to say, man, if you're in the fight, have hope. have courage and stay strong, because you can beat it. And look at what the state of Florida is doing to help provide options that are nowhere else in the Western Hemisphere, but right here at the Mayo Clinic and right here in Florida. So that's how it all started. And then we really worked, obviously, with the legislature, and thanks to Ron over here for his advocacy, to do all of the funds to incentivize these sorts of things with the nationally accredited cancer institutes, who have used these dollars very well to make sure that it benefits all Floridians with technology. The Innovation Fund was a big part of that, and Ron talked about that. That is really looking at novel treatments, novel procedures that might not get any oxygen, but they're looking for pathways for funding to be able to just see if it works out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then letting people know that it's been tried so that we don't repeat some of the things that they've done. And so we've done tens of millions of dollars. Ivermectin, we've incentivized that through the Department of Health with this Innovation Fund, because it's in generic form. If it happens to prove to have results, as some surmise, there might not be an incentive on some people to invest in it, because there wouldn't be a big ROI, or return on an investment, because again, it's in generic. But the state of Florida has an obligation to look into it on behalf of the people of this state, to do everything they can to turn over every rock, to provide every opportunity for anybody who's battling cancer. And so when you put this all together, Florida leads. I didn't even mention the pediatrics that we've done, $30 million reoccurring money that they're going to do to help bolster pediatrics, because obviously when you're dealing with smaller children, unfortunately, you need smaller machines, you need smaller needles, you need certain kinds of expertise. And so now here, particularly in Northeast Florida with Wolfson Children's Hospital, man, they're going to get a huge infusion of cash to be able to ensure that if anybody in the state of Florida is battling cancer, whether it's a child or an adult, that you have the best options to be able to beat it. And so again, it's just an honor to play a very small role in this, but it's a privilege to be here today when you guys officially flip the switch.
All right, well, it's going to be exciting when they flip the switch. I know that there's going to be a lot of good that comes out of this facility, and it's been interesting to watch the campus here grow over the years. Even when I came from Mayport Naval Station back as a lieutenant junior grade, I remember the Mayo Clinic here, and then just seeing everything that's happened since that time, but particularly even just since I've been governor in 2019, it's been pretty remarkable. So it's a great success story for the state of Florida, Northeast Florida, and I know the best is yet to come. So thanks everybody. Okay, do we got any questions back there? Are we going to flip it? Are you going to do anything more? You're going to flip it? Okay, let's do that. Yep. I'll be a bystander. All right, well, that's exciting. So good job. And so we got. Aren't we all? Well, first, I think it was a heartbreaking loss for the Jags, but I think there should be reason for optimism going forward. They really had a good year, and it was exciting to watch down the stretch. And these playoff games are tough. So in terms of what they're doing, so one, if ICE is doing operations, that's obviously their call. Our guys have helped in different situations. I announced the other day, we had almost 20,000 state and local of apprehensions just in the last 9-10 months. I do know there was a woman who came out and assaulted one of our troopers. Let me just tell you guys, this is not Minneapolis. That is not going to end well for you in Florida. You have a right to go out there and criticize government policy. You can go out there and protest within, obviously respected zones. But the idea that you're going to assault one of our troopers is unacceptable, and you are going to face consequences as a result of that. So I'm not sure what all their what DHS is doing. Yes, our guys can assist. A lot of that is being driven by there. I was the other day out when we did the announcements. I think some of you were there at the Baker facility that we created, and that's worked very efficiently. That is an existing facility that kind of got retrofitted, and you've had folks go, process, and then they're able to be flown out. So all in all, Florida's really leading the way. But there was you have these politicians in Minnesota, and they're attacking DHS or attacking ICE agents. They're doing all that, and you have a lot of conflict. And they were like, why aren't they in Florida or some of these places? And the reason why you don't see, because we're cooperating. We believe that we have a responsibility to help the laws of the country be enforced. And I just think it's odd. You have some people that they don't want. There's certain laws they don't like, and they think that the way to combat that is not to win elections and change laws, but to just simply assault the people who are enforcing the laws. These guys that are out there, they've been treated very horribly across the country, and they really have a target on their back. And I know you had that one woman in the city of Jacksonville government putting out information. Look, that's not the way we roll here in the state of Florida. We're going to respect that, respect the law enforcement, respect the rule of law. And, if you want an open border or an amnesty or something like that, the way to do that, I wouldn't support that, but there's a process. Reality is, this last election, presidential election, was decided in significant part because the outgoing incumbent had opened the border, and it caused a lot of problems with many millions of people coming in illegally, including Maduro sending people to the border from Venezuela. He was emptying out his prisons, and he was sending them here to the United States. That's why when we did the Martha's Vineyard transport, most of the people on that first flight were from Venezuela. And there were a lot of people that said, oh, the governor's really done it now. The Venezuelan Americans aren't going to vote for him, down in South Florida. And in fact, next time I was down there, they were high-fiving me because they're like, Maduro is sending. And that's not what they wanted to see. So, you just see, this stuff all the time repeat itself in terms of some of the shenanigans. But that is something that these guys have a right to be discharging their duties and to get involved with any type of assault. Look, in Portland, do they let you throw bricks at police and all this and get them? Yeah, maybe they do. I don't know. It's not a place that I would ever be able to get elected dog catcher in, so I don't concern myself with why. But in Florida, that just ain't the way it's going to work. So, say what you want, even, however you want to do that, but not go beyond that line. How much overall is this project? Yeah. So total, at least $330 million to go into this. State of Florida's 50. Yeah, about 30 to 50, depending on how you slice it. And so, that's. But I think part of the reason we wanted to come here and highlight it is because when the First Lady was touring here recently, basically what Mayo said was, we wouldn't have been able to get here without the state's involvement and the state's help. And so our role is significant in terms of, that's a lot of money, but it was like, that was really critical funding that may not have been able to be found elsewhere. And so that's really meaningful that we could have made that difference. Yes. So the question's about, are there going to be any additional facilities where we're helping ICE with the processing detention and then hopefully rapid deportations for people here illegally. There's not been any new ones that have been approved by DHS. And so we do have potential for Panhandle. We have potential for more in South Florida. But ultimately, we're not going to do it unless it's approved and unless the reimbursements are authorized. And like I said before, even with the first day we opened the first one, I don't want these things to be permanent. I want DHS to have enough staging ability where they can run these operations on their own without us having to provide. But we do have a lot of know-how. We have good logistical operations, our Department of Emergency Management, all the different agencies that have worked, and it's been a huge help for them to be able to do it. So if it's needed and they want to authorize it, we could do it. But as of now, none of those additional facilities, have received that pre-authorization that our other existing two have had. And I just think it's important. I mean, on some of this stuff, clearly it costs money, when you have more illegal immigration, because it costs uncompensated health care, schools, anything with criminal justice. There's just a whole litany of things, right? So you save money, if you have, legal workforce, immigration is legal and all that. But at the same time, we've been told for how many years, Florida, you can't do this. It's the federal government's responsibility. And there are things we wanted to do even more significantly under Biden, and the courts would view no. So I do think that they have to do their role as well. And I know that they're committed to doing that. And I know they got a lot of irons in the fire. But if we do get approval, you could see that. I think we've got certainly probably two more that could go relatively quickly, but it's really dependent on DHS and whether they want to give the go-ahead on it. Look, I mean, they can, like Colonel Jessup said in A Few Good Men, I run my unit how I run my unit. So we run the executive branch. I respond to what the legislative branch does. And so if things hit my desk, I'll take the appropriate action. So I'll leave it for them to be able, to decide, how they want to do. I will say, that particular legislation that I vetoed, if you talk to people in healthcare, it would have caused us to lose doctors. Like, there's no question. Because basically those were reforms that had been enacted in response to medical malpractice insurance crisis many years ago, long before I was governor. And so you would see an impact on that, no question. And I didn't talk to a single physician group, hospital during that said that it would be a positive thing to be able to retain doctors. So we've had a lot of problems over the years in that. So that's what we did. And it's important to point out, because the way these things get branded, these are like not the spouse, other relatives can sue, and you can get economic damages now. This is non-economic, which is, hard to quantify, and it's susceptible to inconsistent verdicts in different jurisdictions. And so it's hard to plan, it's hard for the malpractice insurance to settle in stable. So things happen to upset, and that's why. But you can sue right now on any of those instances for economic damages. Yes? Well, so, this Rodman dam, people love it. They love fishing there. I used to represent Putnam County in the U.S. Congress. And I remember, I'm touring, I first get in, they take me to they're out there fishing, and they use it. And so I thought it was something that was very meaningful to people in Putnam. and I didn't want to be a part of something that was going to end up, really negatively impacting their quality of life. I'm not saying there weren't valid arguments on the other side of it. I understand, what people are trying to do, but for me, just in kind of my experience knowing how meaningful that's been to a lot of people in that area, I felt keeping it status quo was the right thing to do. I'm not sure that anything's changed since I acted last year, but it was something that we thought about very seriously. But I had a lot of people contact me who really cared and really had grown up because that's been around for a long time. And so, we felt that was the right thing to do for those local residents. So, okay, guys, this is exciting. I'm really glad that Mayo here in Jacksonville is leading the way. We're just happy to be a small part of it. But I absolutely believe that if we come back, 5 years from now, they're going to be able to stand before you guys and talk about lives being saved as a result of what's happened here today. And at the end of the day, that's what matters.